Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Limbus Company video. Today we're going to be taking a look at Big Brother Ricardo Heathcliff, who is genuinely one of the most obvious identities we would be getting at some point, so it's no surprise that we receive him now. Heathcliff is the one who got us into the mess with Ricardo to begin with, so it stands to reason that in a mirror world, the script would be flipped. In any case, being a middle identity, Heathcliff naturally is part of the Envy Resonance team, with his entire kit growing stronger with the more Envy skills you chain together. He also has a bit of bleed and burn support to synergize more with Ishmael's middle identity in particular, but aside from him having them, they're honestly barely even worth mentioning. The main way you actually play with this identity is by building up his two unique status effects of his own personal Book of Vengeance and Vengeance Tattoo. On their own, all they provide is more damage, offense level, and defense level, but they are mostly used as a charge type effect that he uses to empower his skill 3. First, if his Book of Vengeance reaches 20, it gives his skill 3 an extra point of attack weight, and that is literally the only bonus effect it gives him. Technically, this also translates to a damage buff if he's not actually using the attack weight, so it is absolutely worth trying to reach that threshold whenever you can. Unfortunately, that is easier said than done, however. The only way he can actually gain more stacks of it is if he or any other middle identity is hit by an enemy. He also gains a bit extra if one of his allies dies, but that's more of an added benefit than something you should try and rely on. Because he only gains 1 stack per skill that hits, that effectively means you need to tank 20 different attacks before Heathcliff can actually start getting a sizable benefit from his Book of Vengeance. Of course, through the nature of the middle being a heavily counter-focused archetype, and with unbreakable coins being scattered about randomly in this game at this point, this does end up becoming a more passive effect than an active one. But even still, with the sheer number of hits you need to take, you'll usually end up winning a fight before you ever reach the 20 stack requirement. Heathcliff's second status effect of Vengeance Tattoo is his more active effect, as once it reaches at least 15, he gains access to his enhanced skill 3. Like most enhanced skill 3s, it is almost identical to his regular skill 3, but with better numbers and, for some inexplicable reason, a Tremor Burst, despite the fact the middle has absolutely no synergy with Tremor whatsoever. It's certainly a strange addition, but perhaps Middle Otis will have Tremor Scorch in her kit, thusly explaining why Heathcliff also has Tremor. Like with the Book of Vengeance, there are only 2 ways for Heathcliff to build up his Vengeance Tattoo. He can either kill enemies with his regular skill 3, something that's barely reliable, or he gains up to 7 per turn depending on the amount of Envy Resonance there is. Of course, this requires his passive to be active, so it has a minimum activation requirement of 5 turns. 4 if you can kill an enemy with his skill 3. Of course, that time frame is only for the first activation, as every subsequent attempt is much quicker as it stacks up to 20 and only consumes 15 per enhanced skill 3 use. You also shouldn't need to activate the passive more than once, so on average, especially in longer fights, you can use it closer to every 3 turns and sometimes even 2. And of course, like every good middle identity, he can use his regular skill 3 as his counter skill if there is at least 6 Envy Absolute Resonance, while also gaining a bit of shield to mitigate the damage he's forced to tank. All of this, though, is not what I would consider to be his strongest attribute. Any identity can do a lot of damage, but only this identity gives every middle identity some of the strongest effects in the entire game. Any middle character who uses a defense skill takes 20% less damage from unopposed attacks, and if you do have a 6+ Envy Resonance, they also cannot be staggered so long as they have an active counter skill. He can genuinely give an entire team an anti-stagger effect, which is in my opinion the single strongest ability any identity has in the game thus far. Of a few other notable effects that Heathcliff possesses is that his passive allows him to use a free skill 1 against an enemy that attacked any middle identity. He also has a substitution mechanic in that he uses his skill 3 when he enters a fight mid-combat, which is incredibly interesting considering the fact that the middle has no retreat mechanics. So with that in mind, here is my prediction as to what Matthias Otis will do. She will have some kind of effect that specifically kills Ishmael, something along the lines of Fell Bullet Yi Song. In reality, it will likely target a random ally, but will have a prioritization of middle identities and Ishmael specifically. Once she's killed them, Heathcliff can then join the fight using his skill 3 immediately, and also gives everyone an extra attack power-up because of his support passive, which gives an attack power-up whenever a middle identity dies. All of Heathcliff's effects in his kit that might seem strange at first glance I believe are simply an effort to allow him to synergize more with the future Otis identity. And if you look at it like that, everything in his kit suddenly starts to make a lot more sense. For a highly anticipated identity, I believe he certainly lived up to his expectations, and that's all I have to say about him. He's strong, has excellent support, and of course is a new addition to my favorite team. There's nothing I don't like about him.
팀 직원이라면 당연한 판단이겠네. 잘했다는 칭찬은 생략하는 게 좋겠지?
우와, 칼음도 깜짝.
그래, 내가 왔다. 일어나! 아직 11번을 죽어야 한다고! 거스타네, 이겨주지! 거스타네, 이겨주지!
このまま行けば敵を食い止められます。
거스타네, 이겨주지!
그래, 이 정도 이벤트는 보여줘야지.
불에 더 키워! 장난이 길었군. 난 거스타네, 이겨주지!
와, 방금 너무 근사한 일격이었는데? 관리자님에게 우수한 평가를 받을 수 있겠어. 자, 악당 퇴치 성공! 오늘도 정말 멋진 활약이었어.
마침내 돌아왔구나. 나의 스페셜 헤어 쿠폰! 혼자서 그 절묘함을 구현해보려 해도 도무지 완벽해지질 않았지. 이제야 발 뻗고 잘 수 있겠어. 얘들아, 철수다! 오늘은 이 형님이 쏜다!
Anyway, that's it from me. Like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Goodbye.